When I experience an obstacle or challenge, I'm going to move past it. I'm going to shatter that glass ceiling and I'm going to keep going.
It hurts to smash a glass ceiling.
Wow, we literally have to be superheroes to walk through this life.
While I might have been the first, I pray that I'm not the last.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, listeners and viewers. We're so excited that we got to pull this off. We were having some minor technical difficulties. We're using a platform that's brand new to us, so, it happens. But thank you so much for your patience, and we're really excited about today. So welcome to Taking Her Lead. Here we strive to give women a platform to tell their stories, of course, as many of you have heard the past 33 stories, and explain how they lead. These conversations give us unique insights into the impact that women in leadership can have in transforming the way we work and live. Wanted to take just a few moments to talk a little bit about the history of the podcast so you have some context. We started it about almost a year and a half ago in November of 2019. Gosh, what a, 14 months it's been with COVID and everything else going on. So we're really happy that we've been able to continue it. We have had, we just dropped our 33rd episode. And have just been, blessed to have an incredible array of guests from women in some of the top level leadership positions in the world to women on the front lines doing good work. So it's been a phenomenal journey. We encourage you to go back and listen to those podcasts because those weren't live stream videos, and you can find them on lots of different platforms, iTunes, of course, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, YouTube. So we're excited to be here. Janine, do you want to talk a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excited to be here. Thank you for your patience. We just dropped the episode number 32 with Dr. Tammy Chang and Dr. Louisa Duran. And I want to encourage you to listen to that. We didn't live stream it, but it was fabulous. And I love how they met early in their career. They're both physicians, different specialties, and they're just abiding friendship throughout the years and what's changed about them. And they reconnected, realized they had some similar experiences, and wait till you hear what they do with their energy and alignment. It's really fascinating.
It's
and
really
I
fascinating.
love women's friendships anyway. So I was really inspired by that episode.
Yeah.
Joshua, tell us a little bit about how Hara came to be on the show today.
Yeah. So I was on LinkedIn, and, we connect with guests through former guests who will refer us to other guests and people we know. But this time I saw her work, and this was quite a while back. I was just overwhelmed with the beauty and power of the medium and the work that she captures through photography. It's amazing. I highly recommend that you go to her website and check out some of the series that she's done and some of the portraits. Amazing. So I reached out to her and said, hey, would you like to be on our show? I think I started with that. She said, let me think about it. So we had a conversation, and she became pretty enthusiastic about being on the show. So she's a wonderful person and really fun to chat with. So I know you guys are going to enjoy this.
Yeah,
So,
I've
Jean,
been following
her
her too every day. Like I check to see if she's posted anything.
The daily photos.
Yeah, she's so creative and so artistic. I can't wait to bring her on.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, as Joshua, you would normally say, let's bring her on and see what she has to tell us today.
Sounds good.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello. Hi,
It's
thanks
great
for
to
having
see
me.
you. Oh, yes, we're excited to have you here. So we told our guests a little bit about that. We're big followers of you on LinkedIn, but I wanted to have you share with everybody, what is your current position? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about your work.
Yeah.
Well, I've been a graphic designer for 30 years. Well, 31 years. I've owned my own business for 30 years.
Nice.
And I've always been passionate about photography, and about a year and a half ago, I rekindled my relationship with a camera. And so I'm also a professional photographer now as well.
Wow.
That's where my real passion is. And I don't know why I let it.
Rekindling is saying it very lightly.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
do.
go ahead.
I'm very happy with the camera. Yes.
How exciting.
Talk about some of the work that you do, some of your series, and then some of your experience in the past in graphic arts.
Oh, sure. Well, I started off my 24-year-old daughter at the time had an idea she follows this site this on Instagram called Be More. And it's about, they hold up signs where they say, I'm more than my diagnosis. And so she suggested that I paint words on her back of who she thinks she is, not necessarily what she looks like.
Right.
And that photograph sparked a series, and I had 28 women take part, and the words were just amazing and beautiful. And each person that came over, we sat down and talked about the words. We discussed them. I have one person was a survivor of domestic abuse, and her words are strong, loyal, safe.
Yeah.
Just it ran the gamut. One lady has stage 4 cancer. It was really, really emotional and beautiful. And watching the women claim the words, that they were beautiful. Most of the women were overweight. And just to see them claim who they were and not what they looked like was really, really beautiful and powerful.
It was. Yeah, I saw the series. It was phenomenal.
How empowering.
And after that, I did one for men called Real Men. Real Man, something like that. Anyway, and I was so interested. It's so interesting who feels called to participate. One of the men was a transgender man, and that was so cool. And another was a paraplegic. I just really love who feels called to say, see me and notice me and hear me. It's really a lovely experience.
Yeah.
Wow, how moving for you and the individuals participating.
Yeah, I feel really
like
lucky.
That connection. Yeah, what a connection that you're creating. And I'm sure that comes out in the artwork, right? I mean, how can it not?
I think so. They feel really empowered. Most of the women in the See Me series, bought a print to put up in their room, or the one who was domestically abused has it on her bathroom mirror, so every morning she can remember those words, that she claimed for herself.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super. So I kind of want to hear, was there some early childhood experience? Where did you find your creativity? Was there something in your upbringing that really brought you to this place today?
Well, my mom was a fine artist. My brother's artistic. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. We were there was always an art project. Our Christmas tree was always full of our own little crafts. Yeah. So that's been a part of me forever. I don't understand. I think everybody's creative. They just don't tap into it. But I think I've been creative, I've been a writer
when were you first aware of it though? When did you realize that you had something that was a little different from anyone else? Do you remember a moment or a project that you did?
I don't know if I'm different than anybody else. I do remember I won a poster contest in elementary school, I guess. So somebody recognized it early on. I've been, an award-winning designer since I was elementary school.
Right. Well, I think that early validation, if you listen to Brene Brown, she says the earliest shame is over artwork, right? That early validation is really important in people's identity.
My mom, I remember this is a story about one of my siblings, but the teacher complained that they didn't paint inside the lines, and my mom lost her mind because that is not what art is. And so from very early, I knew that you weren't supposed to paint in the lines, and that's what creativity. I didn't know I knew it, but that was
right. So your mom was your artist hero in some ways, right?
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, she passed away when she was 46. She was very young.
Wow.
So the artwork that I have in my house of hers is very precious. And it wasn't until right before my 46th birthday that I allowed myself to dare to paint, because I always was comparing myself to how great her artwork was. It's what I held as a standard. Yeah. And it was so beautiful to find my own voice in painting and seeing her influence in my own art. That's really, I don't know why it takes so long you just feel like you're going to be judging your own self, which is crazy.
Right. Yeah, just kind of wading through all those internal beliefs and checking them all out to see if they're really true, right? I mean,
Right.
right.
So true.
That's so powerful.
I really resonated with that, Hara, because I've had the exact same. My mom is a phenomenal artist, and I didn't start until I was very recent. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I tell everybody, that you don't have, even with photography, I see a photograph and I'm like, that's what I want mine to look like. And I'm just my own artist. I have the skill level that I have at this moment, and it is what it is. And so it may look like that one day, but it may never look like that. Just like my art is never, my paintings may never look as beautiful as my mother's. So you just have to accept where you are. And I think that is the key to creativity. Enjoy the process and have fun with everything. There's no, I have thrown many paintings out, but loved painting them. Just like this is not good enough to hang up, but I sure loved every minute of seeing what will happen.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about editing photos. I used to have my own darkroom in high school. And so I develop photos when I edit them. Wow, I'm so excited to see what I created and what I can do with it. It's so if we just enjoy the process, there's nothing that I tell everybody they're always nervous about getting photographed. And I said, what's the worst that can happen? You won't like it. But that never happens. But just to take out all the stress of it is just whatever, we're having fun. Every photo shoot's fun. Every painting is fun. Everything should be fun.
Right.
It's life-giving, and you're giving life.
Well, because life is short. My mom passed when I was 18. And so I do know life is really short. I can't believe I get to be 53. I just assumed irrationally that 46 was the day. So every day that I have past that seems like a real gift.
Wow. Yeah, to work in gratitude then, right? I mean, that's just an incredible mindset and opportunity. The other thing that's remarkable about that is what you're really kind of getting at is if we could remove the judgment from whether something's good or bad and just go with the feeling, because we remember all those painful things for a long time, but those fleeting joys, the joy of creating, we let that go too soon.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all about that. From your work to yourself, letting go of all the judgments.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'm about to do hold a women's retreat for the first time ever. Somebody asked me because they've seen 20 years ago, they knew me and they've seen how much I've learned to love myself. Wow. And one of the projects I'm doing is a craft project, and I'm going to have them create their own inner critic, a puppet that is like a little puppet sock monster, because that's how scary it should be. Your inner critic. It should be a sock monster with googly eyes. So you can have a conversation with a not so scary monster and say, "Oh, that's interesting," and not take it so
seriously. Yeah.
Seriously.
Wow.
Right.
That's fabulous.
That's pretty exciting. I can't wait to make my own inner critic. I'm just looking forward to this craft project so much.
I can't wait to see your sock monster. I hope you
too.
Exactly.
I'm going to get some fake
some
fur.
photos. Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah. I can't wait. It's going to be like a Muppet.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
I love it. I love it. What, Hara, what were some, I think you probably had quite a few, but real pivotal moments, that shifted your direction, or if they didn't shift your direction, shifted your perspective. So I know that your perspective has changed. And I mean, on affirming yourself and getting rid of your critic, but other things too. So
one thing that really stands out is I went, you probably already know this, very spontaneous. I'm a yes woman. I try to say yes to everything. And I asked on Facebook a few years ago, maybe 3, how do I get real change? Like, I don't want another diet. And somebody mentioned very casually on a Thursday, Byron Katie. And I happened to be going that weekend to Portland with my daughters for my daughter's 18th birthday. And I saw she was having a conference on Saturday. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I went to the conference from Thursday to Saturday. And I will say Byron Katie changed my life.
Wow.
Every day I questioned what I think I know and what stories I tell myself. I just had no idea what to expect. And you fill out a piece of paper and you judge your neighbor. It's called Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. And I was trying to think of something I was mad about. And I had this image from when I was young and first married to my first husband about something he did. And by the end of the day, I was like, I don't know if that even happened.
Wow.
I was telling the story to myself so long. I'd gone to counseling over this one incident. And then by the end of that day, just questioning my own stories, I was like, he could have just been, I thought he looked at me like, because I was overweight, he could have just been looking at me. That's what I came out with. And I just couldn't wait to get home to tell my daughters how lifted my heart was over their dad, because I was holding this. I was being a victim for so long, and then I was no longer a victim. So those kind of things.
Well, Hara, I'm a huge Byron Katie fan too. So I love that you said that. You know, she's at Wisdom 2.0 this weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I went
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah,
I went last year, and she didn't show up. And the whole reason I went was because of Byron Katie.
Yeah, I went last year too. So was I. We missed each other, but maybe we were there spiritually together.
We weren't allowed to touch or say hi or touch any because of COVID. It was very strange, the 2.0 last year.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited because Joshua signed up this year too. So
super thrilled.
We're going to have the opportunity. It's life-changing to go to Wisdom 2.0.
Yeah. And because of COVID, actually, Byron Katie has been doing live interviews every day, 3 times a week. Well, it was 4 times in the beginning. Wow. And every day I get a little Byron Katie in my head. And when I think
that's awesome.
The opposite of my inner critic is Byron Katie, because she lovingly tells me what I need to hear and to question myself.
Wow.
We all need that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. So she said once that not only do you not know what anybody else is thinking, sometimes you don't even know why you're thinking something. And she's so right. So we just have to just it's so easy to get rid of all the judgments if you just you have a don't know mind, like she said.
Right. Yeah. Stop assuming that you are responsible for what everyone else is thinking and that you know it. Right. Yeah.
And yes. Yeah.
What about earlier, Hara, what about earlier on in your life? Different pivotal moments there.
Well, I was the youngest of 6 children with a single mom, and it was a crazy household. I used to say we were the Brady Bunch on drugs. There's 3 girls and 3 boys. And it was the 70s. It was a very crazy time. And I was really lost in the mix. I was, being the 6th, I really didn't even, they used to ask my sister older than me what I liked to eat, what I liked. I didn't have a voice until I was about 15, until that sister moved out. And I did. And also when I was a little bit younger, I was touched inappropriately a couple times, like at 5 and 7 by friends of the family, and nothing was done about those things. And that sort of gave me my sense of, or lack of self-worth. And that's why it's been such a journey to find myself and love myself exactly the way I am. But all those things, I couldn't have the message without the mess. And so I'm not upset or regret anything that happened, because people are listening, which is so shocking if you had told me that 10 years ago, but people are listening. And like I said, this one woman from 20 years ago reached out and asked me if I could lead a retreat. That's crazy. But, I said yes, because I know I can help her and help the women love themselves. I know I have some tricks up my sleeve.
Right. You can pay it forward, right?
Yeah, I'm going to pay it forward.
Part of being able to pay it forward in the way I view this is when someone didn't stand up for you when you were 5 or 6, it's because they were doing the best they can and they didn't know how, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you can view that with grace, then you can pay it forward with grace, right?
Yes,
now we know differently than we knew then. And it's very healing to just believe that person wanted to and didn't know how.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. She wasn't equipped. My mother actually was married at 15. She so I think back, and she had no tools in her toolbox. So
Right.
she just was doing the best she could. Absolutely 100%. I have no anger. It just is what happened, and is why I couldn't find my son's self-worth, because nobody was encouraging me.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. There's no
Yeah,
anger towards her. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. She was
I
like
think that when we can find that grace, we can actually heal and then do something powerful with it. And that's really what you're doing. I mean, that you've embodied that empowerment and for her, right? And so I think that's incredible. How incredible. And so I have a question for you. We talked a little bit about your mom and her artwork, and we talked a little bit about Byron Katie. Is there anyone else that inspires you, that has mentored you, been a role model for you? Are there any people in your history that you would shout out to and say, "Oh my gosh, you don't know, you changed me"?
Actually, yes, my sister Deanna, who's the one just older than me, has been like my mother my entire life. We were one word. We were Deanna and Hara. There was no two of us. There was one person that's mushed together. We had, of the 6 kids, we had the same father, and the first 4 had another. And so we were tied together. And she sent me a song once that's "The Wind Beneath Your Wings." And that is so true. It's corny, but she has always been that for me, and I have been that for her. And she has been always encouraged me and been a source of sanity when I needed it. When I got divorced, she took me and my children in, and there was 4 kids under 6 at the time. So yeah,
That's loud.
She has. She's saved me many times.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's wonderful.
Those relationships are so important to be able to navigate the world. And I'm glad you had somebody like that.
Me too. She's the wind beneath my wings. It sounds so corny, but she really has given me, I wouldn't be here without her for sure.
How about now? Mentors or friends?
Oh, well, every friend I have gives me something different, I think, get something different from everybody. I look up to all the women that I love, that, I hang out with, are life-giving in some way. They're always straight up honest with me and encouraging. And that is my favorite thing about somebody. I like when they can tell me like it is. I really appreciate vulnerability and honesty. So I have a number of those women in my life.
That's wonderful. How have you collected them?
That's a good question.
You don't have to answer that one.
No, I don't even know. I'm trying to think how I know them. One was a client first, a graphic design client. And then we just became good friends. Another was my hair and lash lady, the person who I interviewed for my first podcast. We've been friends for 10 or 12 years, although that's not even how I met her. Another girlfriend that 20 years ago, we were both on a yacht together. This sounds crazy, in Coeur d'Alene, but it was somebody's going away from the industry. And so we were in the same industry, in advertising. And so she just was so chatty, and she was so good with questions, asking, telling me this about yourself, tell me that about yourself. We ended up going for coffee afterwards, and we sort of never let go.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She taught me how to ask questions. She taught me to be curious.
Are you, with friends, are you the initiator, or do you find that others initiate?
No, I definitely am the initiator.
Yeah.
I'm always initiating, but they always want to see me. It's just that everybody's busy with their lives. So I just, I am always the initiator.
I found, funny. Go ahead, Janine. Yeah.
They see you in your artwork, though. They can catch a glimpse of you every day when you post it. I mean, I feel like I see you every day.
Yeah. I think that I found that there are individuals, women who I know, really struggle initiating, whether or not they feel like they're not worth initiating or whatever it might be, and struggle to have those friendships because people are busy.
Well, and that's why it's so interesting that you say that, because I think 10 years ago, I wondered why I wasn't being invited to places until I decided I'll invite people to places and stop waiting. So that's why it's so interesting what you're saying, because they always say, "Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't call you. I keep meaning to." I totally get it. And now that I'm not judging anybody, and I'm not,
not yourself either.
We just got together. I just got together with two girlfriends who we spent the weekend together, Halloween weekend, and we haven't seen each other or really talked to each other since. But doesn't change how close we are. I just feel so close to them. It's just life gets in the way. Yeah.
Right. Well, we had a guest on one of our previous episodes, Jen Mazer, and she and Lisa Rueff is going to be our future guest, and they co-founded the Sparked game. So now I have a Sparked night with my friends via Zoom once a month, and
it's an awesome game.
And they're all over the country. I'm in Arizona, they're in Pennsylvania and Oregon, and California, Texas. We get together, and it's like no time has passed. It's wonderful. And
what's Sparked game?
It's a board game. I'll send you the link. It's really great.
You put it in the
chat. And the history of how that game came to be, but it's really dives into who you are and what you're about. It's really a wonderful game. So, but it feeds that whole thing of we haven't talked in a while, and here we have more to talk about, right?
Awesome. Yeah.
So my question for you is, how has your approach to conflict changed over time? Because I think that as we grow, we kind of navigate conflict differently. Have you noticed anything in terms of challenges, conflict, resistance? What have you learned about yourself?
That I can extract myself from the drama, whereas younger, I wanted to be, even if I wasn't enjoying it, I needed to be involved in it. But now I can just take myself out of it and don't need to be involved. So that's a really lovely thing. That's maturity. That just might be maturity. No, I hope. Anyway, that's very good.
That is a hard thing to not get emotionally hooked, right?
Yeah. So. Well, I have I have conflict. I'm involved in conflict, but I'm not involved. Right. So it's my choice. So
and it depersonalizes it also.
Yeah, they can just And I always tell my husband that just be matter of fact. Don't take anything personally, but it is hard.
Yeah, that whole emotional agility. It's a tough one. Yeah, and it also depends on who you're in conflict with, right?
Right.
The more you love them, the more trauma it creates.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Hara, one that I'd really love to know, and I always get to ask, Janine's very gracious about this, is, if you look at the history of artistic expression, certainly there have been some women, but the notable artists have almost to a person been men. And, and over the past 100 years, for sure, particularly that has changed a little bit, but what has your experience been? And perhaps from that, your perspective on how women in art have had challenges, specifically because they're women. Have you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I always say this. I don't ever feel like because I'm a woman, anything's been, and maybe I'm naive, which is perfectly fine with me, but I never feel like anything's been different because I've been a woman. I think if my art hasn't been well received, it's because it's not up to snuff. Which good, you know what I mean? It touches the people it's supposed to touch.
Yeah.
And just like you have women who are supposed to be your tribe and others, not everybody is. So I think that's the same about art. It's reaching the people it's supposed to reach.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I'd also like to hear about your the impact of having brothers, older brothers. Are they older than you? Right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm the
So I'd
youngest.
love to hear about that, because I also think that sometimes I have 2 older brothers. I think that you learn to navigate the world differently when you have older brothers, depending on how they treated you and how they viewed you. So I'd be curious to hear what you think about that.
Well, I was the youngest, like I said, and there was only 9 years between the 6 kids, so we were tight together.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
She was busy.
Your mom's a miracle worker.
She was very busy. Well, I loved having older brothers. I loved being in that chaotic house. It was so full of love, even though it was chaos. And something always was happening. The boys were always fighting, but I did get to be a thick skin, I'm pretty sure, because I had older brothers.
Right.
They weren't very soft. Nobody coddled anybody in that house.
Right.
So there was I do it now to myself. I do what I needed back then. I'm very, very kind to myself, and I say, little Hara, you're doing the best you can, but not having that made me a strong person, I believe.
Yeah, you learned to jockey for what you wanted, right?
There was no, what do they say? There was no trophy just for participating. You had to earn your way in that house, which was good. And I like that.
Well, I have to admit, I learned to throw a few punches too.
Right. Oh, yes. Oh, Indian burns. We used to get Indian burns.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Yeah.
Well, that's a terrible saying. So sorry. That's a terrible saying. But that's what we called it back then, where they ring your arm.
It was back then. It was back then.
Yeah.
Hara, you've touched on this a couple of times, but I want to go a little further. What are some of the most impactful challenges that you faced in your life? What would you say?
I think for me, it all comes down to me and not knowing my worth. Everything that happened negatively, even my first marriage, the whole, it was because I didn't love myself. There was nothing to work with. Being a young woman without that is so hard. That's why I was so proud of my daughter, like I said, at 24, for knowing her worth beyond her body, because I didn't know that. I always thought that somebody would love me through sex. I never understood that it was about who I was and not what I could offer. And so any conflict, I think, any challenge I had, once I learned to love myself, it's all about me and what story I'm telling myself. So
that's profound.
Yeah.
So that there's peace once you realize that you are more than your body. I used to say that, but I didn't believe it. I used to say I'm more than the size of my thighs, because on dating sites, I have been actually asked what's my weight. And 2 boyfriends broke up with me because of my weight. But the irony, they actually said that, but the irony is they're not people I respect anyway. So that's the thing. If I had some sense of self-worth, who cares?
Right.
Like it's my choice, who cares what they think? So it's all about,
they're still not seeing you, right?
They're not seeing me, right? It's what I could offer them, in terms of that. So in terms of beauty, and I think that's how maybe where I learned to see just beauty everywhere. Of course, everybody's beautiful. I just like, I love that the quadriplegic man wanted to come do a photo shoot with me. And I love that photo. He's so just willing to be seen. And I wish that for everybody.
Yeah, people need to be seen.
I hear all the time, well, one, my story's not worth listening to, and I'm not looking my best. I don't want to have a photo taken. Well, the pictures I have of my mother are so precious and so few that I get teary-eyed when people won't get in front of the camera. You owe it to your children. You owe it to hit the world to have your photo taken and document history. And I can do a little nip and tuck if that's the issue.
Right,
I'll make you look cuter if that's what's happening. But it's just so sad, really, that we're so judgmental of ourselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It is a really interesting exercise to look at a picture of yourself, you know, even in live stream for me, watching myself and how I bob and weave and, you know, my ADHD comes out and all that stuff, you know, my faces and, you know, those kinds of things. It's sort of it giving yourself some grace. And when you see it in a still photo, just if you don't know what your stories are, your gremlins are in your head, all you have to do is hold a photo that you don't think is flattering. And then they all come up, they all pop up and go, hey, I'm here. Right.
Right.
You get the story loud and clear. Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but what a powerful thought for you is to have those precious photos of your mom.
Yeah. Somebody came recently for the Unveil series and she was saying, I don't really do this. I'm never in front of the camera. I think she said it's been since high school. And she has all these little kids. And we both started crying. She made me cry. I was like, you owe it to your children, you know?
Yes.
So I'm very passionate about documenting.
Right.
I think that's so. Oh, go ahead, Janine.
I was just going to say, because children really see their mom. They don't.
My daughter,
don't see their body. They see their mom.
I had been overweight for so long, and I remember my daughter sending me when I was not okay with myself, sending me the song "You're Fucking Perfect," and she didn't notice I was overweight. She just sees her mommy, you know. So I have to see myself the way I see my daughter is how I've learned to love myself. Is my daughter can do no wrong. When I can't find little Hara, I see, oh, my daughter is so beautiful and perfect that's me too.
Yeah.
So
that's fabulous.
Yeah, that's the answer, I think, to learning to love yourself is to see yourself as your little self.
Yeah.
I think the fact that your work is being driven and comes out of this perspective that you've developed, which is so incredibly healthy, and that your work is on social media is, you know, social media has a lot of value and getting the word out and communicating with each other, but it's detrimental when it comes to the image piece. You know, because people are driven to put their perfect selves on there or have the mouse, you know, and whatever it might be.
Filter,
the filter, because they're not accepting of themselves. And so your work is counteracting that. And it's so important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really so honored that people come into my studio and let me do these things. You know, that they're willing to be a subject of mine. Because like I said, I've only taken photography back up a year and a half ago. So, so everything I've learned, I really learned during COVID. I was the self-portrait series was so great. When COVID started, I did a 60-day self-portrait series, and I was such a great model because I was so patient. But I learned lighting. I learned everything just during COVID. So, So, but it was great because it was a fast track. Yeah. I'm a fast track kind of girl anyway, though.
So that was a pivotal moment. What was the moment where you said, I'm picking the camera back up? Like what drove that? What was that moment?
I was somehow I heard about a conference in Toronto called the Archangel Summit. And I, as I do, said yes to what I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was going to get reinvigorated for graphic design because I love it, but I'm not excited very much about it. I mean, it's good. Gotcha. It's great. Yeah. It's been a great career. So that's why I thought I was going. And it turns out that summit was about dreamers. And I realized at the end of that weekend that I was one of them, that it wasn't for everybody else, that I could pursue my dream. And what my dream was to help everybody learn to love themselves. Well, so how do I do that? I don't know. So I thought, anyway, the next weekend, because I say yes, I was going to another conference in California with women over 50. And I kept taking selfies with this lady that I had just met. And she kept saying, oh, I hate myself in that picture. Don't use that picture. And I asked her if at the end I could take photos of her to show her how beautiful she was, what I saw. And this was with my cell phone, but she said yes. And that started.
Wow.
It was right
Wow.
before my 52nd birthday, and I was going to photograph 52 women in 52 weeks starting on my 52nd birthday. And so I started interviewing everybody. She was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And up till COVID, I ended up doing 25. So, but I would take these women and I would sit with them for about an hour and just talk to them and hear their stories. And then I'd photograph them and share their photos. And that's sort of what sparked this new podcast idea. Was they all told me these stories, and they were so deep, but they were secrets. They were just a private conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they would tell me everything. They were so deep and vulnerable with me. And that's when I did See Me, the same thing happened. They would sit with me. We'd talk for a long time. We'd discuss self-worth and what those words meant. And I just realized that I have a talent for having women open up to me. And so that's what I'm hoping to do with this new podcast. The next few people, one has stage 4 cancer, one was domestically abused, one is a death doula.
Wow.
So they're deep conversations. The first one was a little bit light because I was getting my feet wet. But
Sure.
I think they're going to be very deep conversations that'll be meaningful and not necessarily depressing, because they've all found peace,
Right.
with where they're at, and or have even not only found peace but succeeded so much more after that. So I'm really excited to have those conversations and not have them only for me. I can share them.
Well, there's a lot of power. The story changes. They always say never speak from the wound, speak from the scar. And I think that there is some gift in speaking from the wound because it's heartfelt and real. But I think the wisdom comes in speaking from the scar. That's where you put it all together and you really understand what's happened.
And I think the healing comes from just speaking.
Yes.
And not holding it in and not having it be a shameful secret. That's where I think I can do good in the world, is that just sharing the story. Because I talked a couple years ago about being touched to a counselor, and shining light on that really helped change me, because I was holding on to that shame for so long. And she made me understand, that I was 7 and I did what a 7-year-old should do. So that was really helpful. And I think just talking about it took away all the shame. So I just want to do that for others as well. And I know that I'm not a counselor and I can't offer help, but I am open to a conversation and to be vulnerable and to hear a hard story.
You're creating
a gift. Yeah.
You're creating community. Thank you. You're creating community. There's a perspective on history that says that, 10,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago, when we were in mostly small communities and agrarian communities, which, there are many still on Earth, that certainly there's challenges, and sometimes resources are scarce and so on and so forth. But the connectedness, the deep, close, constant relationships provided a lot better mental health. And in America, particularly, we're so fragmented in many ways, and mental health issues are skyrocketing due to that. So I love that you say that, you're not a therapist, but you're providing mental health support and encouragement, tools. Yeah. And that connection. So.
Right. So that's what I say. I'm not really interviewing anybody. I'm just having a conversation with them and giving them an opportunity to share their story, which matters. The story matters. And people keep saying, nobody would want, I don't have any value. My story doesn't have any value. And I really think, just like your photograph, you're valuable because you're you. There's no standard to live up to. I hope people realize that their story is valuable.
Yeah.
One of the things, I do these things called EQ profiles or emotional intelligence assessments. And one of the things about having those conversations where people really start to connect to themselves is, don't you find that it changes you? Like everybody's little story heals stories in you. It's such a gift when people actually will speak to you. And I know Joshua's had that experience too, where when you are connected to people and you're having a valuable, vulnerable conversation, everyone gets healed.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I do feel very honored, and it is a true gift that they're giving me as well. I really feel that way. Yes.
What is your podcast called?
See Beneath Your Beautiful.
See Beneath, and where can it be found?
Everywhere podcasts are out there.
Awesome.
Great.
Yes.
How long have you been doing it?
She had her first one, right?
Yeah. Oh,
yes. I'm excited for
Yeah.
you.
I decided a week or something ago that I was going to do it, and then fast track Hara.
wow.
I got it all set up.
15 hours of editing.
Taught myself how to edit, although I need to, every time I was like, oh, let me Google that. How do you do that? How do you do that? So that's probably why it took 15 hours. I'm hoping
When I saw that, I thought of Joshua, because he does that for us. And so
I even, like, when she laughed once, I even brought her laugh down so that it didn't overtake the next line. I was so proud of myself. I did some good editing.
That's
but
awesome.
It's just like editing a photo, though. I care too much. I can't batch process a photo shoot because every photo is different and everything needs to be perfect. And so I hope I get better at it so that it's a little faster process, because
you will.
Who has time? Who has 15 hours to edit?
Right.
Oh,
have a life.
Our first episode with Patricia Littlejohn was a half an hour.
Yeah.
It took me 30 hours to edit.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
I was teaching myself the whole time, so don't feel too bad. That's
right.
Fast.
That's it. I was teaching myself all the time. Luckily, it was Adobe Audition, so I'm familiar with Adobe products. So the key commands are pretty much the same. I felt pretty comfortable just guessing too. So, but anyway, I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
I edited it twice is the problem. Also, I decided it wasn't good enough the first time.
I gotcha. Yeah.
So
Hara, we have a question that we ask everybody. Two of them. One of them is, what are you reading right now? And the second one is, do you have a self-care routine that you do that kind of keeps you resilient and keeps you up?
Those are two very good questions. And the truth is, I'm reading nothing right now because my brain has been full of podcast information.
Oh, good. So you're reading
and I listen, to Byron Katie every day. That's an hour of my life. So I'm honestly not reading anything right now. There's some things in my library, though, that I should be. I can't think of anything off the top of my head because it's so full of, not sadly, but I got obsessed with the podcast and then the self-help. I really do listen to Byron Katie every day to keep me on track.
Yeah.
And then,
what are some other resources that you have before the self-care piece? Just any other than Byron Katie.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Well, your creativity is probably a lot of self-care, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah. I think my self-care is, my husband is very loving and sweet and is very good for me. But I think for self-care, I try to just be soft with myself. I haven't been able to go get a massage in a long time, so there's no real routine of anything. But I take the time to, like I said, I'm going to take the time to listen to Byron Katie. And that really is self-care. I don't know. I'm good to myself. The truth is I'm good to myself.
Right.
When I wanted a photo studio, I said, I'd like to use the room downstairs for a photo studio. And then it wasn't big enough. And then I said, I'd like the whole downstairs for a photo studio. And so I'm not skimping on myself is all I'm saying. I go ahead and do what I'm going to live this life. I'm going to live out loud because it could be taken away at any moment. And it's a real great thing to live that way, to know that, this could be the last day and I'm not going to wish for something that'll happen tomorrow. So no grass grows under these feet.
Yay!
Wow. Yeah. Can we be friends? Because I need to learn that.
Yeah, I know women are going to want to be your friend.
Yeah.
My husband is a real researcher and a thinker, and so I don't know if you can rub off on people. I think you're just going to be who you are, and I'm going to be who I am, and I think it's pretty annoying to somebody who's a thoughtful slow mover. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not done yet.
Spontaneity.
I need it. Yeah, I need it to be done this minute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's also, I'm just saying, I'm pretty good to myself. I make sure I do what I want. A couple years ago, my sister and I went to Italy for 3 weeks because she just brought it up, and there we were that day we're buying plane tickets. It's nuts. We're good to ourselves. But I worked from Italy. The thing is, you can work from anywhere, so it's good.
Yeah.
But we don't say we're a yes people.
Last question. Oh, and actually, before this last question, do you have any of your artwork that you can hold up?
Yeah,
and
we want to see it.
show
yeah,
us.
sure,
We'd love to
sure.
see it.
See if I could get it in the camera.
I put the link to your work in the. Oh, good.
This
Yeah.
is one of the See Me women.
Yeah.
She's the one who was domestically abused, and I'm gonna be interviewing her soon.
Oh,
and
goodness, that's fabulous.
I'll show you just the well, oops, I put it out and now I buried it. Sorry.
Okay, take a moment.
We're live.
You're fine.
We're live.
You're fine.
Here's Travis. And I love that photo.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I'll just show you one from Unveil, which was the new series.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, my
Beautiful.
goodness.
Yeah.
So women keep coming over and, I'm like, hi, I'm Hara, get naked. It's a good thing I'm a safe place that people feel safe with me, because that all my series turns out, you have to have a naked something.
Yeah.
But,
well, and your podcast is going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
I really do. I say, let's get naked with your clothes on.
Vulnerability.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love vulnerability. I love people who are willing to tap in and not be scared of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's some childhood thing, but I don't know where it comes from.
That's okay. It's there.
Yeah.
So therefore, last question. What are you most hopeful about? I love this question. I always get to ask it. Thank you, Janine. What are you most hopeful about with regard specifically to women in art, women in your industry, and where it's going?
Well, I don't even know about women in my industry. I just know about me, because I'm only concerned about, I used to say this when I was a single mom of 2 girls. I was raising them for 13 years on my own. And I had, blinders on that I couldn't change the world. I could only focus on what was in my house and those 2 girls. And I feel the same way about my art. I don't really know what's happening in the art world. I only know what I want to change myself and what I can affect.
That's still very valuable.
The truth. I don't really know what's happening out there. And, if I see beautiful art, I stop and admire it, but I don't know more than that.
What's the hope? What is your hope for your work?
I hope that I can continue to touch people. But my hope for myself, like personally, is I hope I get paid to travel to do it. That's, like a secret hope is that I'm able to travel and see new things, because even when I we once were following some garage sale signs that took us 10 miles down this beautiful road. And we were so happy that we went down this beautiful road that if we hadn't followed that garage sale sign, we never would have seen it. So that's how I feel about travel. It doesn't matter where. If it's a new road, I want to see it. So my goal is that I can afford to do that. And the way I hope to afford to do it is to be paid to take photos of people in all different places.
I love it.
Because right now, these are all free series, which is great, but it is a lot of my time and energy, and I don't get paid for anything.
It's got to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Hara, this has been phenomenal. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for putting up with my technical issues earlier.
That's okay.
Oh my gosh.
We're never
had
learning. Them.
We're learning.
That was bad. Couldn't connect.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, vulnerability, it really changes the world, and you've been that for us, so we really appreciate it so much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really love this. That was nice. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And where, so I put the link to, it's hara.photography, correct? In there. And you can find, listeners, you can find her series on that site. Are there other ways that you would like people to connect with you?
If you're interested in graphic design, you can go to Studio H-Creative.
Okay.
And check out my podcast, See Beneath Your Beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on
Wonderful.
any
I'm
podcast,
excited to do that.
Yeah.
wherever your pods are cast.
Well, I'm going to use that. I'm going to quote that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
stole it from somebody, so I'll give you total permission to steal it also.
Wonderful. Hara, you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk
Thank
soon.
you. It was
Thanks
fun.
so much.
We really
Yeah,
enjoyed
bye.
seeing you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow. I really do want to, I want to learn to live like that. That I don't. That's
she
powerful.
was incredible.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed her. Like, she's just so real and authentic, and she is who she is, right?
That's who she is, and she loves herself for it.
Yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
We could just all benefit from that whole no drama of, like, let's not take things so personally, and, you know,
Affirm
show
ourselves.
up in the world. Yeah. Affirm
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
I've got a critic.
Powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
we all have one. And you know what? When
Yeah.
you think of it as a sock monster, it's sort of like
That's brilliant.
takes it all out of there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, we are downloaded in 50 countries, and we're still
Yay.
working on every state in the United States. So if you know anyone in North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming,
Mhm.
Mississippi, I think it's Iowa that we're still working on too.
Oh, I think you're right.
We
Yeah.
want to be in every state because we believe in our mission and what we're bringing to people. And
Mhm.
Hara was a great example of that. And
Yeah.
certainly Louisa and Tammy in our episode 32 are great examples of women's stories as well.
Amazing. Powerful. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah, if you're able to share the episodes on LinkedIn or Facebook when they're coming out, that would help a ton. We want to reach as many people as we possibly can, and if you can share and then ask your networks, your connections also to share the episodes as they come out, that would be wonderful. Reach out to Janine or myself on LinkedIn is a great way.
Yeah.
DM us if you have questions or things that you want to do with us.
Rate and review us on iTunes.
Yes,
or
please, and
Spotify,
YouTube. Yeah,
it really helps people find us. And we're actually on the iPod list in India, so
we are 49th on the list.
So rate and review us. It really helps people find us.
Yeah.
So and we're excited. We're going to continue. So next week we have who's up next week?
Oh, let me pull up my list. Jessica Robinson.
Yeah,
next Monday.
that's what I thought.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Yeah, she's going to be fabulous. So I'll look forward to that interview as well. She's going to be a dynamo.
Yeah, she is. She does quite a few different things, but she is in finance and she is living in UAE currently. So yeah.
You know what I love about this podcast? We can go from artist to finance guru, and we all have a story to tell.
All have a story.
So,
yeah,
pretty exciting.
FYI, that show is going to be at 7 p.m. because it's a 12-hour time difference. So we didn't want to have her up at midnight, taping with us.
Right. So it's going to still be on Monday, but in the evening.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
Well, we will look forward to it.
Here we go. So find us on iTunes is a great way. And then, of course, YouTube. As soon as we're done with every one of these live streams, it kicks to YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone.
See ya.
And see ya.